Well, hi, Northwest Georgia Media Specialist. I am so excited to be here today, and I wish I was there with you in person. I missed all of you at the Summer Institute in Atlanta in Georgia this summer. And I am so excited that Leah asked me to talk about Future Ready Librarians today. And so let's take a road trip, Future Ready library journey today. And this fits in perfect to what the theme of your fall session is. And it says that you're learning how the framework really impacts you. And so I hope this gives you a little insight, more insight into what Future Ready Librarians is and what it means to you when you take this journey. My name is Shannon, and I just want to start a little bit by my journey. And when I was the K-12 district teacher librarian at Van Meter Community School in Van Meter, Iowa, I was really lucky because I got to work with all of the kids K-12 within our school and all the teachers and administrators. And when I got hired, I was, before a stay-at-home mom, I had a degree in elementary ed and in art education. And I got hired knowing nothing about being a librarian. But as a teacher, I knew I loved kids. I loved to volunteer at my kids' school, and they went to Van Meter. And I also loved sharing literature. I loved technology. And so I had a lot of these traits that we all carry as teacher librarians. And so the very first, most important thing to me in my journey was just building that community and having the library be a place where the kids wanted to be. And so painting and making it an environment that they loved and making it the heart of the school and bringing them in was the very first thing, that I worked on. And as we went, we saw the library as a place that kids did not come in, that was very, very quiet, and the teachers didn't come to collaborate. We saw it turn into this really active, great place. And as we started adding technology, when I first started, we had maybe 30 computers that worked sometimes, and it was for all of the kids, K-12, and then we started infusing lots and lots of technology. And so laptops in our high school and our middle school, and then down into our younger grades, and even iPads, and the kids could bring their own device too. And so we saw that this changed a lot of things as well, because they were not only learning differently, but you can see from the pictures that there was a learning environment that was a lot different than our quiet library that none of the kids came before. And so scenes like this, where the kids are not only collaborating and using technology and communicating with their friends, but they also, you can see that somebody is on the screen, and that is an expert that is talking to the kids. They're working on a writing assignment and a reading assignment that they were working on a project. And so giving, a place that we didn't have a lot of collaboration before, and then into something where this was a common scene was just so awesome. And when you walked into the library, it wasn't just about the kids, having like this one time of collaboration with an expert. These people that weren't in our libraries in our school, they became people that were like other teachers to our kids and other friends. People like Tom Engelberger, who we all know is the author of Origami Yoda, became a friend to my kids, not only Skyping with them, but teaching them just all kinds of great things too. And it was so fun on this one. They were celebrating one of his new books with him. And so really neat experiences that my kids had. And we always had creating going on, and I think I always like to mention this with all of the maker movement and maker spaces in our library. We always had creating going on in our libraries, but we also, I think, as the time went on, we really opened our eyes to what it meant to our kids, and so giving them the space to explore and giving them the opportunity to have these times that this was an after-school time that they were making a play for Read Across America Day, and just having them have a say in their creativity and the making that was happening, I think was so powerful too. And so we know that libraries are definitely changing, and our roles as librarians are changing too. Learning is more collaborative, innovative, exploratory, and creative than ever before, with new educational trends that are developing all the time. And our kids, they're empowered to have a voice within their learning, education, and throughout the world. So with all these changes, we definitely need a map and a vehicle for the library journey that we're going to take, because future ready librarians has definitely arrived for this journey. Now, when we talk about future ready and future ready librarians, I want to give you just a little bit of background before we take this journey and before we go into some of those roles as teacher librarians. And in 2014, to address the Connect Ed call for professional development, President Obama launched the Future Ready initiative at the White House. And this was a call to all of our leaders, our superintendents across the country, and we wanted them to sign the Future Ready Pledge to commit to some different things that were going to make a difference in their school districts, and most important for the students and for our teachers. And so by working collaborative with their district to develop a vision for digital learning, by empowering educators through personalized professional learning, and mentoring other district leaders in their own transition to digital learning, has now had 3,100 district superintendents sign up for the Future Ready Pledge and commit to these things. And so I love looking at this because this infographic shows that it has impacted almost 20 million students. And this was actually done a few months ago. And so I know that this participation and these numbers have went up too. And it's so great because it gives us a common language when we talk about Future Ready, because it starts at our administrators, it starts at our superintendents. And so by having this common language, by having these things that we're going to learn more about today, and that you guys I'm sure have been learning about, it really gives us an in to talk about our role as teacher librarians and the role of the library within the school. Now, when we look at Future Ready, this is a national research-based initiative to transition school districts to personalized digital learning. And digital was the big thing, because with all this technology that we're bringing in and how we're changing the way that we're teaching and connecting and collaborating, not just within our school, but with others and other philosophies around the world, we really need to think differently. And we want it to be authentic, lifelong learning that takes place within our schools. And so when we look at all the jobs of what administrators do and what we can do to bring our schools to be future ready, these are the gears that really outline what a superintendent has to think about, and things like curriculum instruction and assessment, use of space and time, robust infrastructure, data and privacy, community partnerships, personalized professional learning, and of course budget and resources. And so when we looked at that and our administrators were signing up and they were signing the pledge, then we thought, who is going to support them within the school to make these things happen? Who's going to help them by changing, the environment, by making it collaborative? Who's going to help them when it comes to their teachers being able to collaborate or to be able to bring resources to them? And so they thought, why not unleash the educational leadership of librarians to foster future-ready schools? And we know that school librarians, that they lead, teach, and support future-ready goals of their school and district in a variety of ways through everything that we do and within our programs and our spaces in our libraries. And so it is perfect for future-ready librarians to be the one to drive this initiative. So there were leaders that got together in California, people like Joyce Valenza and Mark Ray, and people in the industry, publishers, other leaders that maybe weren't even librarians, other leaders in the educational field, and they got together and they had a mini institute to develop a map and put the different gears of the Future Ready Librarian into motion. And really digging into this and taking the time to set up the framework is now what we have when we look at not only the Future Ready Schools framework, but we look at this side by side of the Future Ready Librarian framework. And when you look at this, you can see that we have a pie-shaped chart now, the Future Ready Librarians. The inside are the same gears that are on the Future Ready Schools framework. And so collaborative leadership, community partnerships, professionalized personal learning, all the things that we talked about. And with that student learning being in the center. On the outside, though, we call it the edge of the wedge, is where you find the things that we have to do, our goals. And so things like curating digital resources and tools, empowering students as creators, designing collaborative spaces, advocating for student privacy. All these things on the outside are what we look at as our roadmap for Future Ready Librarians. And this is the map for our journey. I think about when I first started as a librarian and remember not knowing anything about being a librarian, and I wish I would have had this because I had the standards, the AASL standards and ISTE standards, and we followed the Common Core in Iowa. So doing a crosswalk with that, really gave me a foundation for what I was going to teach the kids. But when it came to the things that I had to do as a librarian, not only looking at the AASL standards, but I wish I had this that I could have put next to it for a map for my journey, just to really kind of guide me in how I was supposed to, make relationships and use the curriculum and curate resources and all these things, just to give me a guide or a map for the journey that I was going to take, and not only take me on, but also take my entire school community on as well. And you'll love to know that reading and literacy is going to be added too, because when we look at this, and that was one thing that, just to go back to it for a minute, that I always questioned too when I first saw the framework, was we need to have literacy woven throughout this. And this is something that is going to become part of it. We actually meet with our leadership team in a couple weeks, and it will be added, I'm hoping, by the AASL conference. And so later this fall, we'll see one that is a updated version. And I'm excited because I even think there is talk about adding it to the other frameworks too within Future Ready. So I want you to stop and ask yourself this: what does it really mean to be a Future Ready librarian? What does your library journey look like? How can Future Ready librarians lead the way? How can we help our students become future ready? So come along with me on a road trip as we examine the gears and take them apart for a closer look at how they work in our Future Ready journey. But before we take off, remember, there are other drivers you're going to share your Future Ready journey with. There's parents, and there's teachers, and there's administrators that you can share your map with as a common language to really make a difference for your students, who are the most important drivers in this journey that you're going to take. So when we look at this, think about the gears again. Think about all the things that were in the framework that we look at. Designing collaborative spaces falls under the use of space and time, and we need to provide flexible spaces that provide inquiry, creativity, collaboration, and community. We also need to build instructional partnerships, and we partner with educators to design and implement evidence-based curricular and assessments that integrate elements of deeper learning, critical thinking, information literacy, digital citizenship, creativity, innovation, and the active use of technology. This is one of the most important things, because when we start doing things different in our school and we start infusing technology and different ways of learning, we're more needed than ever before. And so building these instructional partnerships so we can become an important part of everything that goes on in the school, from classroom to working with administrators to understand how this works, to working with our students. And so it becomes a really important part of our job. Empowering our students as creators, one of my favorite things, as we encourage and facilitate students to become increasingly self-directed as they create digital products of their learning that engage them in critical thinking, collaboration, and authentic real-world problem solving. Also, to be able to curate digital resources and tools. And this isn't just our students, this is us. This is also teaching our teachers. We need to make sure our parents know, our students know, because this is a skill, this digital curation skill, that we need to make sure that we are teaching and that they're learning and developing these as well. And so as we select materials and integrate them and organize them and share all these digital resources and tools, this is something that's going to transform the teaching and learning and develop those skills like I was talking about of others. We also need to facilitate professional learning, and this falls under that personalized professional learning strand that also administrators do. And so we're leaders in this. This was one of the things that I didn't think a lot about before I became a librarian. And as we started adding technology and we started doing things different and education was changing within our school, that became a huge part of my job. And I loved being a leader in that, because that's how I got myself not only in front of them being a leader in professional learning, but it also helped as I was getting in the classroom, as I was collaborating with the teachers and bringing things, by empowering the students as creators, all those things work together. And so as we lead professional learning to cultivate a broader understanding of the skills that compromise success in a digital age with critical thinking, information literacy, digital citizenship, technology competencies, we can make a difference. The next is cultivate community partnerships, and we're always cultivating community partnerships as librarians within our school and in the local community. And this can be with families or government agencies. It can be with our public libraries and businesses. It just depends on where you are. Van Meter is a super small town of 1,000 people, and we had a handful of wonderful businesses and a public library that loved to collaborate with us. But we're lucky because now we can cultivate community partnerships anywhere in the world. Because of Skype and Google Hangout, we can make sure that we engage them and that this lifelong learning really takes place within our libraries and within our schools. And so it's not just about that, that local community. It can now be about the global community too that you have. These two go together. Invest strategically in digital resources and ensures equitable digital access. And we need to make sure that we leverage an understanding of school and community needs to identify and invest in digital resources to support student learning. And, when we started putting one-to-one and a lot of technology into our building, that really changed for me, because I needed to think about how I was allocating resources to make sure that my kids had ebooks and e-resources that they were using. Did we need to buy digital tools? Did we need to purchase things like EasyBib? Thinking about all those things and really investing strategically in what we needed in digital resources. And to go along with that, that helps when we are thinking too about making sure that everybody has equitable access to the technology, to that digital access that we have. And so another way to do that would be to when we put one-to-one laptops into their hands, when we made sure all of our kids had Wi-Fi at home, when we made sure now that the kids even have it on buses or at the football field when they're working outside, in the locker rooms, making sure that they had access to the digital resources even at home when it came to ebooks and the databases, anything that they might need to make sure that we were supporting the district's strategic vision. We also need to advocate for student privacy, and of course we need to teach and promote student data privacy through their instruction and role as educational leaders. And this is something, again, not just us as teacher librarians, but we need to make sure that our teachers and our administrators, that we have this common language so we're supporting that for students. And I became kind of the expert in my building because I was the one that was not only providing this PD, but was also helping the teachers make sure that they were also supporting our kids in this way too. And all of these things really fall under the huge umbrella of leading beyond the library, because we are participating as librarians really in setting the district's vision and strategic plan for digital learning and fostering the collaboration and innovation to empower our teachers and learners in a different way than everybody else does in the school, and we can be that leader. And so I encourage you to always get a seat at the table when it comes to any meeting that might come up, when it comes to any planning, when there's a parent meeting or a new teacher or a new administrator. Get yourself in there, because really becoming part of that conversation and leading beyond the library, we're all leaders as future ready librarians, and we can make a huge difference not only in our library but in our district too, and really throughout the world. So librarians are going to be the driver for future ready and change, and all 10 of the gears within the future ready librarian framework are going to work together and serve as a roadmap for the success of every school library program, future ready librarian, and ultimately our students, teachers, families, and communities. So, how do we get to this destination? That is a great question. I think that we all have, and it can be a little overwhelming at times to look at all of those gears and think, how am I going to do everything within that framework? Well, you're going to need a few keys to get started. First, you're going to need our roadmap, and start by setting some goals. This sheet right here that I will give you guys access to, I've written about it on my blog, I've tweeted about it. It's totally free and open for you just to make a copy. And a great teacher librarian in Texas developed this, and she put it together with her administrator just to keep track of her goals for the year. Well, this last week, I actually put in 4 new rows that you can see just right on the bottom there. And I thought it would be cool not only to have a column for each one of the gears, but also have some things that we could kind of start what we're currently doing, what we want to do this year, how we're going to get to those, different goals that we have, and then what we want to do also in the future. And so I encourage you to make a copy of this, put it in your drive. If you want to, print it off and start setting some goals. Also, don't forget to look when you're doing this at the AASL standards, which the new ones come out in just a few weeks, and the ISTE nets for students and for teachers, because these are something too that it's not a place just to go and follow the Future Ready framework. That is a great place to go to start conversations and to start, like I said, as a roadmap on really digging down and getting into those things that we need to be doing. And this can all be a crosswalk together when we look at this and think of all the things that we can do, not just to support ourselves in our libraries, but also with our kids too. And so take a look at all of those as well. And of course, the different standards that you have within your school and your state too. When you're setting goals, be transparent about them, because being transparent about your goals, growth, and even when you fail is how we create change. And one thing that I did is I made a Padlet, and you can see it underneath kind of the words here, and you'll also have access to this. And I made it because people wanted to share their goal sheet, that one I just had shown you. So you can go ahead and put your goal sheet on here as well. And it's so great because I love looking at what other people have done, but it also really kind of keeps you accountable, and you can't share enough. And we're in this great community where everybody is so supportive and just so friendly and so nice on wanting everybody to be able to succeed, that I can't encourage you enough to really share when you're making those goals. As you keep track of the things throughout the year, and even at the beginning of the year, think about how you can use that content and that data and your goals to share, like during your either back to school night or your end of the school library report, even to your administrators. And share it too, like on your blog, send out newsletters, share the things that you're doing with your administrators and your teachers, but also with your parents and your kids. Because when you're sharing these things, and they're seeing how valuable you are and what you're doing, and how many books are being checked out and kids are in the library and the different things maybe you're doing in your makerspace and so many other things, it really talks volumes to how you're valued and what you're doing to make a difference in the lives of your kids and the learning that is happening within the school. Remember also, it's okay to focus on one gear at a time. I give you permission to do this because when you look at the framework, like I said a few minutes ago, it is overwhelming to think I have to do all of this, but you can focus on one thing at a time. And even if you set goals up for every one of those different gears throughout the year, maybe they change, maybe you add on to them, maybe you completely take one off and you focus on it maybe next semester. But it's okay to focus on one at a time. And it's okay to shift to speed up or slow down and even go in reverse. And sometimes we might even get a little lost or turned around along the way. And so get connected to this amazing, caring, smart, and motivating group of future-ready librarians. And you can find them in the room where you are today, those around you. You can find them on our Facebook page that now has over 11,000 people that are just amazing, amazing supporters of all of us in what we're doing as Future Ready Librarians. And if you haven't signed up for this yet, please do today. You can ask absolutely anything on this page and get support. If it is from something that maybe you're just starting out in the library and you have a lot of questions, maybe you're somebody that's been in the library for 30 years and you're making a lot of changes. And it could be something from, when school started, back to school bulletin boards, maybe that are interactive with augmented reality, to all the way to a question like, my principal wants to cut my job, part-time, and what could I do? And so all kinds of things that we can not only ask but help others. Also get involved on Twitter. There's a great conversation going on all the time at #FutureReadyLibs, and also just following the Future Ready Twitter group is another great place, because we don't want to just see what we're doing as Future Ready Librarians. We want to make sure that we're following what our administrators are doing and what other teachers and educators within the building are doing as well. And as always, the TL chat is always a great place to follow. And so follow that too. I think you guys also have one on Twitter. I can't remember what it is at the top of my head, but something like NWGA something. So that's another great place too to follow the conversation and add. But remember, you can follow that hashtag, and you could even put in Future Ready Libs and TL Chat too, to really broaden that conversation out of Georgia, and get other people, around the country and even around the world involved in the conversation. Also on Instagram, Future Ready Libs is a hashtag that we use on there too, and I love this because I love seeing what people are following. And please check out this Flipgrid. It is awesome, and it's people that, some of them that all of us know, and just great leaders and great teacher librarians, including all of you hopefully today that add your voice to this. You can go to that URL, that Flipgrid, and you can listen to others and even add your voice too. I also encourage you to get involved in the webinar series. This is really great. We actually have one coming up in October and another one in December, and then they'll kick off for another year in 2018. But there's already been 4, and they are just so awesome. This one actually was one in June. Then we just had Designing Collaborative Spaces in August, and Andy Plemons and Carolyn Foote were our presenters that night, and it was another amazing one. We also had the institutes going on, and actually I'm getting ready and it will already be done by the time you guys meet, but I'm getting ready to go to Indianapolis for the Future Ready Institute there. But these are free 2-day workshops, and they're going to we have 4 more, including this next week, and then we will have more. We'll announce more next year, and even some other surprises too. Also, I encourage you to either get these from the Future Ready Librarian Facebook page, or ask your Follett reps for them as well, because they have them too that they can get for you. And these are posters, and I always was thinking this summer, like, it'd be so cool if we had a poster to put up, not just the our framework that said, I am a future ready librarian. And so the Alliance for Excellent Education put these together, and you can get them, like I said, either on the Future Ready site or ask your Follett Rep too. And we're going to have them, and we have had them at several conferences already. So it's been fun, to really share those too. So tell your story. I can't encourage you enough to really document what you're doing and share and tell your story of your journey, not just with your school, not just with your state, but also with the world. And stop and ask yourself this again. What does it mean to be a future-ready librarian? What does your library journey look like? How can future-ready librarians lead the way? And how can we help our students become future-ready? You have what it takes to lead the way, to make a difference in your library, one gear at a time, and to empower and engage your students to be future ready too. So this year, let's take a road trip together as we lead the future of education and we make a difference in the world. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Leah, for inviting me today. And I wish I could have been live with all of you, but I'm actually, on the day that you're together right now, I'm in South Dakota giving a keynote to their librarians there. And so that's another fun group that I get to be with. So I'm glad I got to be with two of you today. And if you have any questions, you can find me on Twitter at Shannon M. Miller, or feel free to email me at shannonmcclintockmiller@gmail.com. Reach out anytime, any questions you have, if you need help finding resources, if you have a question within your library that maybe you need somebody to brainstorm with, I'm here to help you and here to support you. So have fun, Future Ready librarians, and I can't wait to connect with you all in person. Thank you.